Hello, and welcome to another episode of the M42 Adventures podcast. I am your host, Rick Trimmer, and today I'm excited about this one. I'm excited about all of them, so you'll probably get tired of hearing that, but what a cool job to be able to sit with these amazing men and women and have these open conversations where I can ask them anything. Ryan Mickler said it best. I says, man, you get a front row seat to this. And he says, I don't get a front row seat. I'm on stage with them. And so again, I'm excited about this one, but uh, Greg Ray is who I have on today. So he's the founder and CEO of Outdoor Solutions and the Long Range Shooting Schools and the Field to Table program. So I've actually gone a couple years ago and did both of these experiences, events, whatever you want to call them. And he is just a good, solid dude. I actually was looking at partnering with him originally before starting M42 Adventures. I almost was a partner on Outdoor Solutions. Just couldn't make it work with my travel schedule, and got back, and he'd kind of moved on, which is understandable, and he's doing great things. And so I launched M42 Adventures, and hopefully we can collaborate down the road. But let's jump into this conversation. I'm excited for you to hear this one. I always tell everybody, I did a podcast a couple days ago with my guys here. Did one kind of on Africa and our experiences, the 4 or 5 experiences we did this year, and just talking about them. And I was talking about you, and I think but I'll tell you, you're a big reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. We've talked a lot about this in the past, and obviously you're the founder and CEO of Outdoor Solutions, and I've come to a couple of your events, right? I've come and done Field the Table and the Long Range Shooting,
right?
And I just love it, and so we had actually talked very extensively. We were going to partner. We were going to, team up and do something together. And then I ended up, wanting to go travel and ended up calling you later down the road, and you didn't need me anymore, type deal. You had moved on to another. But man, I just love what you do. I sincerely do. And like I said, that's been a big inspiration for M42 Adventures, because coming out to your events, both of those events, I tried to come out to the one this March with Ryan again, and it was sold out. It was filled up, which is great. But man, just to be out there, and it's not, I love hunting, I love shooting guns, but for me, what's drawn me to this lifestyle and wanting to, put my time into this is changing people's lives. And you do that. That's your job.
Yeah, it has been, especially on it's true with the aspect of a little bit of everything that we do, but for the last 5 years, like you mentioned, the Field to Table, it's hard to believe it's already been 5 years. Literally, it seems like we've been doing it for 2, but 5 years now that we've been doing the Field to Table. And that has been, for me personally, the greatest experience of everything that we do, because of what you just said. You get to make a difference in somebody's life, because we're getting, I know you and I have talked about this before, but we started Field to Table in May of 2019 was when we did our first events. We did one in May, we did one in November. So I just did 2.
Okay.
And then you fast forward to this year, and we're doing like 22 or 23 of them. So it's really grown. But the cool thing is, and it started about 2021 when all the height of all the COVID stuff was going on. We thought, man, we're going to be doomed. But right around that time, we started seeing a shift, in half of every class that we were doing was first-time hunters, which wasn't anything that we did by design. It was just the word had started getting out, and we'd had some media at some of our events. And of course, it's always on our website, which, of course, we promote. And so the word just kind of started getting out. But not only were they first-time hunters, it's a completely different demographic than we had even thought about marketing to. And it was late 20s and early 30-somethings that live in big cities like Los Angeles, New York City, Portland. Yeah. So just some of these cities that you don't think about where hunters come from. And then especially in that age demographic, and they're all different types of professionals, from IT professionals, dental hygienists, just a little bit of everything. And so as being curious, you asked them, like, well, what made you decide to come and do this? And the number one answer that we get is like, I don't come from a hunting family. Like how do you start hunting? How do you get
Mm-hmm.
started doing something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And they found out about what we do and found out that there's somebody that holds their hand from A to Z, or in this case, field to table. And
Mm-hmm.
so they thought, oh, well, there's going to be somebody with me the entire time. And then so it became a mission of ours to make sure that we set a very good first impression for somebody coming in to the hunting industry for the very first time that normally would have not, because a lot of them have a preconceived idea of what us hunters are like, and most
Yeah,
of the time it's not super flattering.
absolutely.
So we're able to be good stewards of that and make a good first impression. And now the majority of them have come back and done, multiple field of tables, or they signed up for a long range class, or they're going on their own hunt. So that part by far has been the favorite thing that we do now, just because of the people that we're able to have a influence on and make a first impression,
Yeah,
a
and I
good
think
first
like
impression.
absolutely, absolutely, and I think I think what COVID did also is you can see that the world can shut down. You can see that the grocery store shelves might run empty, and I think that opened people's eyes up a lot to hey, I may need this skill. We've all just become so complacent because we just walk down to the grocery store, we buy some meat or bread, and I think during COVID, things not only shut down that you couldn't go there, but also supplies were hard to get in. And so, it's one of those good lessons where I'm sure, like you said, when you first heard the news and thought, oh no, we're in trouble. This is going to kill us. And, and that was able to turn into a positive. And I want to talk more on that down the page. 'Cause I know you've been an entrepreneur most of your life, and, I always like to see people like you, that, are now living an awesome life, having, going on all these adventures, changing people's lives, but I know the road that it took to get here. We'll talk more about that because, people don't understand. When you see the news and it says, "Hey, the world's shutting down," and you have a business that you launched in 19 right on the right on the eve of that. People don't know what that feels like. A lot of people just show up to a job and assume it's gonna be there. The paycheck's gonna be in the mail. So I want to talk more about that because I think that's also a lot of the adventure, good or bad, that you have lived. Because Outdoor Solutions has been around how long? Like 17, 15 years?
20 years in October.
20
Yeah.
years. I mean,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah. We started in October of 2004
Mhm.
is when I got started in this business. So yeah,
Yeah.
it absolutely blows my mind to be able to say that. That's been 20 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. My oldest business, I started in 2006, so it's 18 years old. And I mean, to hit the 20-year mark, man, that's you know you're in rare company there already. Most small businesses just don't make it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it has not been a path paved with golden bricks. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And very rarely is it. I hear a lot of people, and I'm sure you get this too, where they say, "Man, I want to live your life. I want to travel. I want to, retire." And I'm like, "Okay, well here," and I tell them, I'm like, "Here's what I did." And they're like, "Oh, man, that's hard." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's everybody just sees the fruit and they want to pick it, but at the same time, man, you got to plant the tree, and it's hard, man, to get that thing to bear fruit."
Yeah, they don't see the 80-hour weeks and working on Christmas Eve and missing holidays and parties and all that stuff too. They just see the like you said, they just see the good stuff.
The highlights, the highlight.
Yeah. Yep.
So let's start here at the beginning. So, you came out, you started Outdoor Solutions 20 years ago. We don't need to go, too far back. I know the history and I know a lot of the stuff you went through, but when did you start so the long range shooting was before Field to Table, apparently?
Correct. Yeah. So so when we started in '04, we were and still are a booking service. So we put together hunting and fishing trips for
Oh, that's right.
clients.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
all around the globe. That's what we started as, and
Okay.
still is a main part of our business. But
Okay.
what happened was, and this is the cool thing about the business, is the business really just showed us what needs were out there, and I was fortunate enough to have great contacts and know people smarter than me, and was able to put stuff together. But what would happen is whenever we would prepare somebody for a hunt, we would get clients from Pennsylvania would be a huge state for it, Ohio, New Jersey, New York, a lot on the upper East Coast that are hunters, but they want to go out west and they want to hunt mule deer and antelope and elk and those type of things. And so when we would prep them for these hunts and tell them like, hey, you got to be prepared to shoot out to 400 yards in some cases. And they're like, oh, whoa, wait, hey, we don't even have a rifle season here. We're shooting slug guns and muzzle loaders. And, we don't shoot guns that far. Now, I had one guy on there. So this has been a long time ago. I was prepping him. This is when I was a one-man show. I was prepping him for a antelope hunt in New Mexico. He lived in Pennsylvania. And I said, hey, you're going to have to be prepared. Here's all your gear, but you have to be prepared to shoot out, maybe out to 400 yards. And he said, well, hell, I didn't know bullets went that far. So there was a need there to be able to teach people how to shoot at further distances. So fortunately, I had some really good connections. I had a guy here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was the director of a training facility real close to our home. And they had government contracts, and they actually worked with a lot of the SEAL teams. They worked with SWAT teams, and they would provide a lot of curriculum and training for those guys at this facility. Well, they also had a civilian side where you could do group training. And so at the time, my son Eddie was like 9 or 10 years old, somewhere in that deal. And kids were allowed to come to, if they of course had to go through all the safety briefings and safety tests and that kind of stuff. And so I signed me and Eddie up for it. And the guy that was running, his name's Steve Arian, treated Eddie just like one of the adults. He didn't treat him like, oh, you're a little kid and we'll show you a couple things and you go over here and get out of the way. Eddie was doing everything. So by the time he was 12, Eddie's running an AR with a chest rig, and he's got a pistol, and he's doing transitions, and he's dropping mags, clearing malfunctions, shooting under vehicles, through windshields, just all the cool stuff. So I was no longer the coolest guy that he knew. Steve became the coolest guy that he knew. Yeah. I really appreciated the way that Steve treated Eddie. And so when I got the idea, I was like, man, so we can start training these hunters how to shoot ethically at longer distances. So Steve was my first phone call, and he's like, yeah, easy days. We'll write a curriculum. We'll gear towards hunting. We'll work on a lot of positional stuff and get them trained on scenarios that they will encounter whenever they're going on a hunt to shoot at that distance. And so that's what we did. We started that in your home state in Utah in 2012, I believe. 2011 is whenever we did our first classes out there, and have now expanded to Texas. We've got a couple of locations there, and that's what we do. We work with hunters that are getting geared up for a hunt, and we run them through scenarios. It's a 3-night, 2.5-day course. And you've done it, we get them prepped up and ready for a hunt. We teach them to shoot at steel out to 1,000 yards. We're not advocating shooting at animals that far at all. But our thought process is if you can hit a steel target at 1,000 yards, understand why you're doing it repetitively, that whenever that 200 to 400 yard shot opportunity presents itself, not only are you going to be a better shot, but you're going to be a more ethical hunter, because that's going to mean less wounded animal on there too. So it's a really, really fun class that we do.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I came out and did it, I think last year. Was it last year?
Year before last, I think.
Was it?
Time flies, man.
Jeez, that's scary. And yeah, it was, and I've hunted, I've shot elk before I came to your class. I shot an elk with my dad, a spike elk that was like 480 yards. And so I've shot some distance and stuff like that, but your class, what was cool about it was, like you said, I'd never shot 1,000 yards. I became, I got my sign, my badge of honor with the 1,000-yard club, which is awesome. But it, like you said, it opens your mind to what's possible. You're not necessarily going to take that shot, and I wouldn't, but you could, you definitely could. I mean, we were hitting that, that plate pretty consistently on the last day. But what I loved about it was the people. The people was number one for me. I was trying to think, I don't know, I can't remember all their names, but what was the big guy? What's his name?
So we had Eric Lund there.
Uh-huh.
And then Mac was there.
Mac, yep, Mac, yep.
Yeah. And I don't remember if Brent was at that one. I know Steve wasn't. So Steve that was mentioned earlier, still with us, still our director. He's our director of training. All the instructors fall under him. He's in Iraq right now. He'll be back next month, and hopefully that will be his last go around, and he'll be back here full time.
Yeah, I know you've been looking forward to him
great guys.
For a while, Steve coming back. You've been saying how big of an asset he is and will be when he's there with you.
Yeah, 100%.
So the people, first of all, was what was cool, and then what I enjoyed was, first of all, the guns you have are insane. They're amazing. What were we shooting? They were 6.5 Creedmoor. What's the brand you're using?
Yeah, so that's the caliber, is 6.5 Creedmoor. When you were at that class, I believe they were all the Benelli Lupo.
Oh yeah,
which it was just a hunting rifle, so it's not anything all tricked out and custom or anything like that. And then the other thing that we do is we just use factory ammunition, so it's something that's very, very repeatable. So you can go to your local sporting goods store and buy almost any firearm off the shelf now and duplicate what we're doing. We've changed things a little bit since then. So we are still partnered with Benelli. They have an exclusive on our field to table side, but now on the long range school side, we've actually changed it up a little bit and giving our clients a variety, because everybody's asked, well, what do you think about this rifle? What do you think about that rifle? So now we've got about 8 different manufacturers that we work with. And they're anything from a production rifle, like the Benelli Lupo, to what we call semi-custom, that you can do some things to it, like a Fierce, which is there in Utah with you, Fierce rifles. Christensen Arms, which is also there in Utah. I don't know what it is about Utah that people like to make rifles there, but Christensen Arms is another one. So both of those, you can buy off the shelf, but you can trick them out and get them customized as well. We do some stuff with Seekins, and then you go to the fully custom side with like a Gunworks rifle and a Altera rifle. And that is, you just tell them what you want and they build it kind of thing. So pretty wide variety.
Yeah. And like you said, I think that's a good point to make, because that is another thing that impressed me. Because when I got there, you're like, hey, these guns, they haven't been modified. They're you can go buy them. And then we were shooting Barnes bullets, right? From Utah as well.
Yep. Also from Utah.
Yeah. And,
I think I know where we all need to go if there's an apocalypse.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. We got it all. Is Browning from Utah?
They are as well. Yeah, sure. That's actually another one for next year. We have our last classes in October, but for next year, I believe Browning will be added to the fold as well.
Okay. I was going to say, I thought they were as well. So yeah, man, that is wild. But yeah, just letting people know that you can go, and shoot these guns 1,000 yards basically out of the box. Was shocking to me. I always just thought you had to, upgrade everything and change everything. And so, yeah, man, it was an awesome experience. The friendships that I made, that was, again, the what I took probably the most from it, that we had partners. Everybody was partnered up. And then what else I liked about that was, like you said, we shot still for a day, maybe a day and a half. And then you took us out, that ranch you guys have access to out there. We went out and shot scenarios that were laying down, over a log, across the ravine, and that's what I think was, you literally can come and never have shot a gun. And at the end of your class, you could go out there and take an animal.
Oh, 100%. One of my all-time favorite stories to tell in that exact scenario that you just mentioned, because we get all kinds of experience levels, and we try to pair them up accordingly. So we get people that are brand new, and then people that have been to multiple classes, over the years. But we had one guy in particular, an early 30s guy. His name's Ozzy Mendoza. He was out of Louisiana. And he actually won a whole package that we put together with some of our partners. So he won a long range shooting school and a field to table experience.
Oh,
but when he came to the long range class, I asked him, and this was on camera. I was like, so, what's your firearm experience? He's like, well, he said, I shot a BB gun once when I was 14, but I didn't tell my mom. So, that was
That's
it.
it.
And this always happens every time. He outshot the entire class.
Oh, wow.
All the experienced people, because he's new, he has no bad
No
habits.
bad habits,
He didn't
yeah.
have an ego, and like, oh, I'm going to do it this way, even though you told me to do it a different way. He's like, I've been doing it
Mhm.
this way for years or whatever. And he just did exactly what the instructors told him to do. And
Mm.
he outshot everybody in the class. And that happens all the time. Same with women.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I actually had a guy on yesterday, his name is Chase Segmiller, and he owns a firearm academy here in Southern Utah.
Okay.
And I had him on yesterday, and he was telling me how funny it is because he says, "I bring out, you know, a husband and a wife or a girlfriend and a boyfriend," and he says, "Almost every time the girl outshoots the guy by the end because they're, you know, like you said, guys are kinda gung ho, I can do this," and the women listens. They get all the details.
Yep.
And he says it's funny because I do all these classes where they come out together, and he says usually after they come back, but it's separate. He's like, "Dude, I'm not shooting with my wife again, man. That was embarrassing," you know? So, but, yeah, I can see that for sure, you know, like you said, uh, growing up, you know, around guns and, you know, you learn what you are taught, right? And so your grandpa learned from his dad, and your dad learned from his dad, and I learned from my dad, usually is how, you know, a lot of us get into it. And they don't know what they don't know, you know? I
100%.
was talking about breaking down an animal, you know, we broke down elk and deer my entire life, and then I came out to your field to table, literally, went home to my dad, and I'm like, "Hey, we're doing it wrong, man. We're leaving a lot of meat out there," you know? And I think, um, that's one of the biggest takeaways. We'll talk more about that one, but when you get the training from professionals that study this and, you know, they know it, just there's little details that are just game changers.
Oh yeah, they can make it faster for you, easier for you. Just yeah, same with me. Five years ago, going back to the field to table, 5 years ago, I couldn't have told you the difference between an eye round, a flat iron, where they came from, how you cooked them, whether they were tough, tender, or whatever. And now I know how to break it down, take it apart. I could teach the class, not near as good as the chefs, but I could teach it now in the last 5 years just from what I've learned from those guys.
Exactly, exactly, and that's where I always tell people, you know, the reason I started M42 was selfish, you know, really, it's I want to live this life, I want to learn, I want to be a part of it, and so, I think that's a great example of how this is, you know, you were a hunter before you started Field to Table. I mean, you'd done it your whole life, and that's the you know, that's from me taking your class, I literally went home to my dad, and I'm like, "There is so much more to this than we ever thought," and I need to get my dad out there. I've told him we need to get out there and do a Field to Table 'cause, it's just even for, like, people listening, it's, you know, you think you know, but until you come out there with a professional chef and professional firearm guys, anybody there I guarantee every person can learn something at
Oh
your
yeah.
events.
Yeah, and yeah. So you and I are definitely walking the parallel path as far as why we started some things. Is the field to table was just purely a selfish thing. Like most hunters, I've been hunting since I was a kid. I grew up on a 2,000 acre cattle ranch that had lots of game on it,
Mhm.
and I didn't start big game hunting until later in life. But anyway, like you said earlier, you don't know what you don't know, and you start learning. Start learning, how to shoot, and then rifle selection, caliber selection, ammo selection, and then you learn how to find the animals. Once you find them, you get one down. You learn how to field dress it. You learn how to skin it, pack it out. My experience ended, which I think similar to yours, at dropping off at the processor. And
Yep.
I did the
Mhm.
same thing that everybody else did. Is, give me a few steaks, some roast, and grind the rest
Yep.
every single time. And I didn't know, like there's a
Maybe a
lot of
little
different type of
jerky,
roasts.
maybe a little jerky if you had a little extra money in your pocket, you
Some
know?
snack sticks. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
always my go-to
yeah,
as well.
but yeah,
Uh,
that was it.
yeah, but I, like even the roast, like there's roasts that come from the front of the animal. There's roasts that come from the rear of the animal. There's roasts that come
Mhm.
from the neck. Yeah. So I didn't know any of that. So it was just a selfish thing. It's like, I feel a little bit like a hypocrite. I've been doing this my whole life. I work in the industry and I don't know one cut of the animal from the other.
Mm.
And again, just happen to have a very good connection with, Chef Albert. Which chef was that the one that you came to?
It was Albert, yeah.
Oh, it was Albert. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
he's awesome.
Yeah, so I just happened to have a great connection with him, and made that call back in 2019, and he's like, "Heck yeah, man, let's do it." So
And you probably had that idea just like you said again from just seeing a need, right? You just saw people who wanted to get into hunting and didn't know where to start.
yeah, well, so actually, the way that it started, there was more guys like me that had been hunting for a very long time, but you know how us guys can be with their egos. Nobody wants to raise their hands at, I don't know how to do that. So I swallowed a little bit of pride, and like, I don't know how to do that. But I started talking to my hunting buddies, started talking to a lot of the guides that you met. They're like Jay and LC and Lloyd and some of those guys there, and they've broke down hundreds of times more animals than I ever will. But they didn't know the different cuts either, or how to do the subprimal breakdowns. So just a lot of us hunters just don't know. So we turn it over to the butcher and the processor, and you might get your animal back, you might not. You don't know how they treat it once it's there, and there's that's a whole different rabbit hole. But um, anyway, yeah, I wanted to start learning myself and learn how to do it. Here's the biggest takeaway for me. It's not near as hard as I thought it was going to be. Or
Yeah,
take as much,
absolutely.
my
Yep.
excuse is I don't have the time. It
Yep.
doesn't take very much time once you learn how to do it.
No, that's what I took away too. Is when I went back and told my dad, I says, "Listen, we're leaving a lot of meat on the mountain. When we shoot an elk, and I says it's not any harder. It's just we're doing steps 1 through 4, and we're missing steps 4 through 7.
Right.
There's neck meat, there's rib meat. There's more to go get, and it was just ignorance. Like you said, it's another hour on the mountain and maybe another pack out, but when for me uh, it's so hard to get those animals, and it's getting harder when you hunt public hunts, especially. And when you get an animal, you want to harvest all of it. You want all the meat. And I just didn't know. I just didn't know. And so we're leaving a lot of meat up there that, could have come down to our freezer. And like you said, it's not any more difficult. It was just knowing, just having the steps. And that's where your class, so for people listening, we kind of brushed over it enough, but with the fill the table, you come out and it's exactly like it sounds, right? They come out, and there was a couple people in my class who had not shot a gun, right? They were
Hmm.
brand new to firearms. And within 3 or 4 days, you come out, you go to the range first night, first couple hours, you're out there at the range, and you're shooting, you're learning the firearm, learning the gun, and then you go right out to a stand. And what I liked about it, I assume you're probably still doing it this way, um, but I like hunts where you're kind of on your own. You want some guidance, but I don't do really well a lot of times where there's a guy over my shoulder saying, "Shoot that, don't shoot that, wait, hold on," just. And so what I really liked about yours was we went out and you're like, "Here's your stand. Hop up in it. They're gonna probably come from here, come from here. There's the water. There's, the trails, and we'll be back to get you at dark."
Right.
And that to me, for me, it was amazing and I loved it, but I can't imagine what some of those first time people are feeling. The excitement, and that's what I'm with M42 Adventures. What we're doing is trying to push people outside their comfort zone. That's where you grow, right? You grow when you
Exactly.
go outside. So, yeah, so that's what I love. So you're sitting there. I mean, the first night, I was on the hog hunt. I know you have deer and turkey. I mean, what all do you offer? I mean, you're doing antelope, elk.
Yeah, we leave next month for Montana, and we've got
Mm,
two events in a row to go hunt antelope on there. So that's probably one of our more popular. And that's the cool thing about it, is they're all a little bit different. So like you had that experience in Texas, you're sitting in a tower blind
mhm,
and waiting for the animals to come to you. So this is a big 40,000 acre cattle ranch, basically.
mhm,
So it's not a high fence or anything, but
mm,
so you're kind of waiting for them to come to you. Whereas like on this one, you're going to the animals and you got to scout them, you got to find them. Now you do have a guide with you the entire time. We're on the Crow Reservation, so one, that's a requirement. But
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for them, and then you're sitting in your glass and you're trying to pick out the oldest, maturest buck, in the group. And so that part's a little bit different, and you're shooting a lot further, and you're probably shooting off the shooting sticks, which is why we do the long range shooting classes. Or if you're lucky, if you have a vantage point, you might be able to get prone and shoot off of your backpack. But we're doing those. We do cow elk in New Mexico. We do cow elk in Colorado. We do bear in Alaska. We do bear in Canada. Next year, I think we're going to do bear in Idaho. And then we do them here in Oklahoma. That's kind of the same thing: deer, hogs, turkey. We do a waterfowl, sandhill crane, which is a lot of fun. And then for 2025, we're going to add some really cool ones. We will be doing, starting in September, wing shooting for dove, and then go fishing for redfish and speckled trout in the afternoons.
That's awesome.
And then we're right on the coast, and one of the places there, we can go and get fresh oysters and shrimp. And so we'll have that combined with some dove and some fish. But
That's
then we'll
awesome.
do at that same place, we'll do the same thing with waterfowl and fishing as well. So I'm sure I'm leaving something out, but there's
I know there
plenty
was a
to go hunt.
there was sick deer one that I wanted to go on. You did that a couple years ago, right?
Axis deer. Yes. Yeah, we did that in, that's actually the same outfitter, just a different location. That was really popular. That one sold out literally in minutes whenever we made the announcement. So that was in South Texas. And
Ryan came and did that one, right?
What's that?
Ryan came and did that one, didn't he? Or
he's been to that location.
Okay.
But just on a regular hunt, he just went and did a hog hunt down there. So we did our first one there in June, and it was a home run. We did axis deer and a hog combo.
That's awesome.
Have a similar setup to the one that you've been to. Now that processing center that we have is obviously over the top, super nice, climate controlled, everything that a nice processing center could want. This one's actually fairly similar. It's just a little bit smaller, and not quite as nice, but it's still a really good setup to do all your processing.
Well, and that's what's cool about, again, that's where I, loved what you're doing. I wanted to be involved with what you're doing. And it's because of what you're saying. It's like you have created not only a life for you to go, you're going to be at a lot of these experiences. You can cherry pick them, go to the ones you want to go. I know you have staff and all that kind of stuff, but then changing lives, how many people, I mean, just what you've named there, it's like you could go to your website and decide whether you want to shoot a hog, an axis deer, a bear. Hey guys, I wanted to step away from this conversation real quick. We are going to be announcing our experiences for next year. We've wrapped up all of our experiences this year. We did, I think, 4 experiences overall. And next year we're going to be doing 7 experiences. And we're going to try to drop one probably every week, maybe every couple weeks. We're not sure, just depending on how the selling of them goes. Africa will be, one of the first couple. Sign up for the Genesis is the first thing, our online community. That's where we're going to be talking to people first about these and giving them first right of refusal. Second will be the newsletter, and then social media. So if you wanted to go on any of these adventures, Alaska, Africa, Costa Rica, Hawaii, Utah, get in and be paying attention, because I think they're going to go pretty quick from what we're seeing already. Come join us. Come sign up. It will change your life. So let's jump back into this conversation. Thank you. Elk. I mean, it's just, I love what you have built. I just think it's absolutely amazing and, insane. And so then to fill the table, you're out in the field, you hopefully get an animal down. Hunting's not guaranteed, but I know you give us the best opportunities. I know that's also a reason why you're doing, cow elk, and I think that's genius, because you're trying to get these people to harvest an animal. It's hard to get a big bull, and that's a whole different ball game. So you come out, you're there to, provide, and so I know you try to make it to where everybody has that opportunity. And I did, I know I did provide, and I had plenty of opportunity to make shots. And then we bring the animal back. And then, like you said, you have a professional chef who comes in, and we have a class where we break down the animal, start to finish. I mean, just every aspect of it. We take all the meat, and then what I loved was, like you said, we basically lay that animal back out on the table, and we, identify everything,
Right.
which is huge. Like you said, it's like, oh, that's where the I so we were just in Africa 8 or 9 days ago, and I kept telling them, I want the tenderloin, and the guy, they didn't speak very good English, the trackers, and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "It's that, right inside the hips." But that was something that I learned from your class, that I was just kind of overlooking, passing up. And so you lay it all out. There's very good instruction on how to, use a knife, how to break down the animal, and then what you name it. And then what I loved was then we go and we cook it. And it's like you have this great, again, I was at the Texas facility, but amazing kitchen. We're in teams and everybody, I mean, ours was like a 7-course meal,
Mhm.
and we all had, there's dessert, there's appetizers, there's main courses, there's soups, there's, and you guys say, "Hey, I can't, I'm trying to think what I made." I can't remember the dish that I actually made, but, um, basically we go through and everybody is in charge of their course, and that was amazing.
Yeah, and it's not, the cool thing about it too, when people see the menu, when you're like when you were there to cook, you may have had this experience as well. You look at the menu, you're like, "I'm gonna be able to make that,"
Oh,
because
it's
chef
like you're in
puts
New York City.
yeah, because chef put together is like, "I don't even know how to pronounce that. What is that?" You know?
Exactly,
And
that's why I don't think I remember what I made, because it was some kinda soup, but it was like a butternut squash,
oh, yeah. Probably with
something.
a butternut squash, probably with,
It
it
was
had some type of sausage in it. I don't know if he does
Yeah, it was boar.
chorizo with that
Yeah,
or
mhm, yeah, and I remember seeing it, and I'm like, you know, "We shot a wild boar." First of all, I didn't even know you ate them. I'm like, and he's like, "Dude, they're delicious if cooked properly."
correct.
And then, like you said, I saw that menu and I'm like, it felt like, I was in France, looking at a menu. And you're absolutely right. It wasn't like, ribs, it was ribs with a glazed sauce and it was fine dining.
Yeah, no, that's it. It is definitely, elevated. I always tell everybody, not that we're against, chicken frying anything, but, it's not, putting some breading on something and throw it in a pan of grease and calling it good. It's very elevated when we start showing people either the videos we've done or just the pictures of the food. They're like, "I'll never be able to do that." But once you get in there and the chef shows you how, it's not hard and it doesn't
Yeah.
take near as much time, as what you think. Some of the things can. I know. I think one time Ryan did. Um, I think it was the egg rolls that he did,
Mm.
and
Oh,
so it takes
wow.
a while to roll those up and that but they're, they're absolutely, amazing. But yeah, so the chef ahead of time obviously puts the menu together, and then, each team of 2, everybody's paired up, then prepares, the dish that the chef assigns to you, and everybody's in the kitchen at one time, so you've got 8 people plus support staff all at the same time running around trying to get all their dishes and time everything, and then, of course, then the plating, which is the final thing, like you said, man, it looks like it's coming out of a, five-star, restaurant, and it's amazing. It's really, really good food.
Yeah, and that was, I just did Ryan's event, not just, but I think it was in May, wasn't it, Ricky? Ryan's Uprising. I think it was in May. Here in Utah, he had an event up in Pine Valley, and he brought in a chef, and we all went in there and kind of helped him prepare dinner, a little cooking class kind of deal. And at the end, we had been together 4 days, 3 nights, doing all sorts of adventures and, fun stuff, shooting guns, shooting paintball, whatever. Lots of fun stuff. And at the end, he said, "What was everybody's favorite part?" And more than half said it was the night we cooked together. And, you know, he says, "Well, why? Why was that it?" That shocks me. And there's just something in the kitchen that we were all in over our heads. We all know we are, which is, how we feel at your kitchen. But there's a camaraderie, there's a mentor, there's Chef Albert there, there's support staff, and you're laughing, you're bumping into each other, you're fighting over the stove, but it's all in, and I think it's a great way to end that event as a group, and you're all trying to prepare dishes that you want your buddies that you've now met and made friendships with to enjoy. And, that was probably my favorite part of the whole thing, that and then riding around. It has been a couple of years 'cause I usually can remember, like, 6 months out. So, who was my guide? I sent him a charcuterie board for his, he was having a baby when I was there. Who was my guide? Do you remember him? The young kid?
It was somebody having a kid.
He's got, like, red hair, kind of a straggly beard. Hunter.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably my 2 favorite things were cooking and Hunter, man. He's just a different breed. Is just funny. Just, and that's what, that's what I never thought I didn't know Hunter existed,
Right.
So when you go out there, you have your expectations of, I'm gonna enjoy the hunt. I'm gonna enjoy shooting guns. And my 2 favorite things were being in the kitchen and then eating the delicious food with all of my friends. The table there, I mean, it's insane. It seats, what, 12 to 15 people. I mean, it's a huge, family style table.
Huge round table. Yeah, usually we get 10 to 12 is what we usually sit there comfortable. That's my favorite part too, is everybody, the hunt's over, everybody's been in the kitchen, and like you said, the camaraderie in there, but then everybody's sitting down and they're enjoying the fruits of their labor and all the stories and the laughing. And that's my favorite part as well. In fact, we've got a video that we will be releasing, I think in October, that shows a lot of that. And it's just raw, organic footage, and it's people sitting around the table, eating, maybe having a glass of wine, but everybody's laughing. Everybody's got a smile on their face and everybody's telling stories. But for us, that's what it's all about, especially those new people that we were talking about, cause we get these new ones that are coming in, that are in that demographic that I talked about, and they don't look the part of what you think a typical hunter. It's not some dude with a beard and flannel or camo or whatever. They're kind of like Ozzy. I always use him as an example. He came in his skinny jeans, a bright yellow shirt. He had a train conductor's hat on and these little round, I call them hipster glasses, little round yellow lens glasses. And so after we got to know each other, we traded hats and glasses for the whole trip. So I was wearing his train hat and his little yellow glasses. And
That's
he
awesome.
paid us the biggest compliment at the end of that, which was after we all sat down and we ate, and we went out and we did a little exit interview with him. But before we even started, he's like, I want to tell you, he says, my favorite part is how welcome that you guys made me feel. He says, I know I don't, I've never done this before. I don't look like you guys. I don't act like you guys. I don't live like you guys. But he said, everybody just made me feel extremely welcome, and that I could come back anytime that I wanted to. So that's the biggest compliment that we get during those.
Oh, 100%. We need more of that. We need more, like you said, the world is trending away from hunting and away from, it's got this, total misconception. I 100% believe. And as you can bring people into that world, that, like you said, one at a time. I actually just interviewed Trevor Farnes, the CEO and founder of Mountain Ops.
Oh, nice.
And he just got into hunting, a few years ago, but had never hunted growing up, nothing like that. And obviously his supplement brand caters to hunters. And he says, man, the biggest lesson I've learned is how welcoming this community is.
Yep.
He says, I showed up there and again, I'm looking at these big burly guys with beards and flannel, like you're saying, thinking, oh, I don't fit in here. And he says, they're as kind-hearted and as gentle as anybody else. And they want you, we want people to join us. For me, it's like, I want more people around the campfire. That's
Right.
what we're doing, And so, yeah, man, I completely agree. I still stay in touch. What was cool was when I was looking around the table at the end, and we had a couple guys from Mexico, Carlos, and I can't remember the other. I still talk to Carlos all the time, still once a month.
Yeah, those guys were so nice.
Yeah, just good dudes. And, and so that was what was cool is you look around and we're all from different walks of life, different countries, just completely different people, but we found a reason to gather around the table, break bread. And that's again, me, I love travel, everywhere I go in the world. And food for me, for most of my life, probably until I started traveling, was just fuel. It's like I just need it to move my body down the road. And then as I started traveling and opening my mind up and understanding what food was and its culture and its history, and uh it's changed me completely. Now most of our travels revolve around food.
Right.
We literally plan them, and whenever we go anywhere, we're looking up restaurants. And so, when we're sitting there at a table, that's when all the walls are down, your friends, your family. And I wanted to say how grateful I am for you for creating this company, for creating what you have done. I sincerely appreciate it for, um, not just me, but for me and for everybody else that I know that you're impacting. I know we've had a lot of conversations on the back end about, the struggles you've gone through, your accident where somebody came through your home in a vehicle.
Right.
And I mean, your story is, we'll jump kind of here into the entrepreneurship, but it's like, I want to thank you for not giving up, and for fighting the fight. And the world needs what you're doing. And I 100% believe that. And I tell everybody, everybody that I talk to, I mention, whenever there's something that comes up about how they can get into this world, I mention M42 Adventures, and I mention Outdoor Solutions.
Awesome. We appreciate that.
And that's the truth, because, uh, it is needed. So, yeah, run me through a little bit, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what, what made you, you know, I know you got into the hunting community, but what made you decide that I'm going to go for this and launch a business and actually make this my livelihood? Was it just your passion for hunting?
So it was literally and figuratively by accident. So and I know some of the story, but um, the way that it actually got started at the time back in 2004, I was a national sales manager for a Fortune 250 company out of Chicago, and I was gone Monday through Friday. So part-time dad, part-time husband, and I really wasn't hunting that much
Out of Chicago, and you were in Oklahoma
in
still?
Oklahoma. That's where the headquarters.
Jeez.
Yeah, the headquarters was in Chicago. But
That's already tough. Yep.
yeah, so and fortunately, I didn't have to go there. Well, so that's where the corporation was from. Then the company that the corporation owned was actually out of Connecticut. But my territory was North America. So literally on Monday, I might fly to Toronto, and then by Thursday be in Mexico City or
Wow.
somewhere in between. So I didn't do as much in the actual states as I did both of our border,
Wow.
border countries.
Wow.
So I was just gone all the time. And I'd been doing it for quite a while. Prior to that, I'd had my own businesses. This was like having my own business. You're running a territory, and my bosses left me alone. I had to, like I said, I had to go to headquarters once a quarter, and that was it. And anyway, was just tired of living that lifestyle, tired of being gone, being away from my family. And so, man, I just need to go back to work for myself. But I didn't necessarily want to start over completely. So we were looking at franchises.
Okay.
And so we were actually looking, so keep in mind, this is 2004. We were actually looking at Subway franchises. I thought, I can make a sandwich. How hard is that?
Funny. I actually almost bought a Quiznos.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, really, really close. And I'm, Subway's still around. Not many Quiznos. So I dodged a bullet there. But yeah, that's interesting. I did the same.
That's when they were in there.
Same time too. 2004.
Ain't that wild? Yeah. So
yeah, it is weird.
That was kind of what got it started. Well, during that search, I came across a list of like the top 100 franchises in North America or something like that. And there was one on there that was called Outdoor Connections, and it was like number 97. And I was like, oh, I wonder what that is. And so I looked up their website. I was like, this is pretty cool. And so I dug into it a little bit and was like, well, I couldn't replace my income with it, but boy, this sure does sound like a lot of fun.
Mm.
And so I ended up buying a franchise from them, which didn't go over extremely well at home because now I'm still gone Monday through Friday, and now I have a side gig too. And anyway, so the way that
And
they ran
you're like 30 now? 30, what are you in? What age were you?
in '04, well, that was 20 years ago, so I'd have been in my late 30s. I'll be 58
37?
this yeah, I'll be
Yeah,
58
37.
this
Okay.
year. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So the way that they did the franchise model, most of all the other franchisees, whatever their territory was, they would do trade shows, like local hunting and fishing shows. I
Okay.
couldn't do that because I was gone all the time. I sure wasn't going to go to a trade show on the weekend. Um, so I went and bought a couple of books from Barnes and Noble. I still have them here in my credenza on how to do pay-per-click advertising
Mm,
online because nobody
mm.
was doing that. Now this is before Google was Google. Yahoo was the big search engine, and I learned how to do pay-per-click marketing on Yahoo, and the leads just started pouring in, like overwhelmingly. And
Wow.
so while I'm traveling in my hotel room, I got my laptop and my cell phone. And so I'm calling all these leads back. And
Yeah.
I'm learning as I'm doing it because this is some stuff that I never, people are like, hey, I want to go on a woodland caribou hunt. I'm like, woodland caribou. This has got to be in the woods somewhere, So, so I'd have to
That's
call
awesome.
the home office, the franchise office, like, hey, man, these
Whoa.
4 guys are wanting to go do this. Well, what? So I was kind of learning as I was going. Well, the franchise blew up and was
Hmm.
was doing really well. So that first year, and it had never been done. The company had been around for a while too. It had never been done in the history of the company. Not only was our franchise rookie of the year, but we were also franchise of the year. So we
Wow.
we just kind of blew it out of the water. And so my thought process was, of being an entrepreneur is like, man, if I can do this good part time, how could I do full time?
Mm.
And so Deborah and I were having that discussion, and we're kind of back and forth. I'm ready to jump in with both feet, and she's a little bit more cautious. The insurance and the 401ks and that kind of stuff, understandably, because we have 2 small kids at home.
Mhm.
And so this is kind of the part that you just mentioned. The decision was made for us because literally a year to the date, in October of '05, a Jeep comes through our house going 70 miles an hour and ran over me and my wife while we were standing in the kitchen making dinner. Unfortunately,
Mm.
it hit my wife and launched her, and she went through a wall and landed on one of the cars in the garage. But it pancaked me and landed on top of me. So because of all the injuries and the surgeries and everything that I had going on, I was going through physical therapy for a year and a half. I had like 11 surgeries and all this kind of stuff. So the decision was made for us. The company I worked for was fantastic with really good insurance. Of course, they had to have somebody run the territory. So I ended up going on a short-term disability and then a long-term disability. I slept in a recliner for about a year, maybe a little bit less than a year. And so Deborah would bring me my laptop and my cell phone, and I just started building the business.
Mm.
And because of that wreck, I'm in this industry full time. We've had lots of up and downs, but between then, the crash of '08, '09, when the housing market crashed, and we were talking about COVID earlier. Whenever COVID hit, I thought, oh man, here we go again. It's going to be just like 2008 all over again. Fortunately, it wasn't. But that's literally how we got started. And then my passion for big game hunting didn't really start until after that because I was more of a fisherman and had done, just wing shooting, duck hunting, quail hunting with my dad. And then as a kid, chasing squirrels and rabbits with my vicious miniature dachshund. So
Yeah, yeah.
uh, that was it. And then got started in this and started chasing big game around, and eventually out west and chasing everything you can chase out there. And now done stuff like brown bear and caribou up in the Arctic, and got to do some really cool stuff.
Yeah, I know, that's what I want people to hear that are going, there's gonna be people that are on your journey, they're year 1, year 10, year 15, whatever it may be, and people always ask me, "Why are you successful?" Or, how did you quote unquote "make it," and I always tell them it's perseverance, I think is number 1. I think that I guarantee you, and I know from your story, there was a dozen times where you could have quit and just done something different, you know? and for whatever reason, you didn't. And, I think that's a good lesson for people out there who just think everybody I've talked to, it's funny because 9 out of 10 of the people that I've had on my podcast, I'm trying to think. I honestly think, is there I don't know if there's anybody, Ricky, that hasn't been an entrepreneur on our podcast, has there? I mean, in 22 interviews, something like that, every person has been an entrepreneur. And I'm not trying to pick entrepreneurs. I'm not, I'm just picking people who um, are doing cool things that I admire, that I think, I want to have a conversation with. And I think that inherently a lot of those people are entrepreneurs because they're risk takers, they're dreamers. You couldn't, and I shouldn't say couldn't, but it's harder to live our lifestyle if you work a 9 to 5. It's just much more difficult, to be able to pack up and say, I'm going to Canada today, or I'm going to Africa, or I'm going to Hawaii. Um, and so I admire your tenacity and your grit. I commend you on it. I really look up to you. I'm, trying to follow in your footsteps to some degree. There's some likenesses to M42 and Outdoor Solutions where they kind of overlap a little bit, but um, not really. I mean, we kind of both stay in our lanes, but I love what you're doing, man. I love your story. I think I know you're a great person. I know you have a good heart, which is number one for me in a friendship. Um, so I can't commend you enough.
Well, man, I appreciate it. As you know, as an entrepreneur, it's not easy, no matter how much you love something. It is not an easy road. I mean, we've been around for 20 years and there's still days last week that I want to quit. I'm like,
Yeah, me too.
why am I still doing this? And then conversations like this that remind you, like, okay, that's why I'm doing it. You got these new people
Yeah.
coming in, and you got people relying on you. You got people that work for the company that rely on you. And
Mhm.
then you look at the alternative of going back to a 9 to 5 and somebody telling you when you can go on vacation, where you have to be, what time you have to be there, what you have to wear. You're like, yeah, okay, yeah, this ain't so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not easy. Yeah, it's not.
It's not.
Even everybody thinks, okay, you've been doing this for 20 years, you've got it made, man. You've got to keep grinding. You can't let off of the gas or you slow down.
Yeah, and I, like what I've been telling people, obviously we're 6 months old, we're brand new. But I keep telling everybody, one, you just don't give up, you just keep pushing forward. And two, I've learned enough to know that you don't know where you're gonna end up. When we designed our logo, they're like, "Is that a good logo?" I'm like, "It is, but honestly, it'll probably change." Really.
Yeah,
I'm like,
ours did.
Yeah, most of them do. Most of mine have with my other companies. It's like I started my wood mill in Tijuana, Mexico, and now it's a wood mill, flooring store, cabinet division, countertops in America. So I never had that even in my mind. And so I think, like you're saying, you have to uh, keep pushing forward and then listen and watch where your niches can go and what's going to make sense. And that's exactly what you did. For what, 7 years, you kind of ran the booking service, and then you said, hey, there's a need here for some people to be able to shoot better. Launched that in 2011, you said, and then 19, you said, hey, there's a need here for this. And I know you. I can see some of your posts. There's teasers. I'm curious to know, what is next for Outdoor Solutions. I don't know if you want to give us a little bit of that, but I know your mind and I know the way you work, and I'm sure you have lots of big things in the work, and I think you have to have that. I always tell people, throw 5 irons in the fire and then see which one gets hot,
No, that's
because it can change fast. That's one thing I think we both have learned with my construction companies is, man, I was on top of the world, in 2007, just thinking I was a genius. And, I was 26 and I just thought I'm set for life. And 1 year later, I'm homeless, literally, and so, not get complacent, be smart, avoid debt if you can, and all these great things. But, yeah, man, what's next for you? What do you got? Any teasers out there
We do. Yeah, we've got a couple of things in the works. I can't spill the beans completely,
Yeah, you're good.
but we're sticking with what works really well for us, and that's the education.
Mhm.
That's what obviously we're passionate about. That's what we're really good at. So we've talked about the long range schools and the field to table. So what I can tell you is think about, so you've been to both of our deals. Our field to table typically is around 8 to 10 people.
Mhm.
Long range school maxes out at 14 people.
Mhm.
So think about combining a field to table with a long range class and a whole bunch of other stuff that
I
has to
love it.
do with the outdoors with other experts. So that's the
I
cool
love it.
thing about with what we do. I don't have to be the smartest guy that knows all this stuff. I've been very blessed to know people that are the best of the best of what they do in their niche, and also falls back to treat people the way that you want to be treated all the way through, because you never know when that's going to circle back around. And our community is a
Absolutely.
very small community, and
Absolutely.
word gets out. So all these guys that help us out, I've known for a very, very long time. And it like in Albert's case, it had been, golly, I'd probably known him for 8 to 10 years before we even did one bit of work together,
Wow.
so, and just kind of
Wow.
a casual deal. But,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, so for 2025, we got some really cool stuff, in the works that will be, again, in the educational, realm, on more things, in the outdoors, but will still, involve the things that we're already doing, just bringing in some different experts and then doing it on a larger scale too. So instead of 10 to 14, we're, 30 to 40,
Awesome.
type people. And it's basically an introduction to what we are already doing. So once people come to this newer event, they can then decide like, oh, a long range school would be the next step for me, or a field to table would be the next step for me,
Mhm. Yeah.
kind of thing. So, and it'll introduce them to a lot of other companies, a lot of other brands
Yeah.
that are out there as well. So we're super excited to be able to announce the whole thing here soon, maybe even next week. I'm hoping.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. I've been watching your posts and following along, and like I said, I think we're both, on the same, trajectory, or not trajectory. I know you're way ahead of me, but as far as the same, goal is trying to bring people out, trying to get them to experience and just, get them outside and get them, like you said, a lot of people don't know how to get into a lot of these things that we take for granted. And so if we can help facilitate that, man, I love what you're doing. Hopefully we can work together in the future, maybe some kind of what's the word that I'm looking for?
Collaboration.
Collaboration. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Collaboration, something like that. I would love to do something with you, you know where I stand. We have lots of conversations. So I appreciate you, man. Is there anything else you want to add to the conversation, Greg, that I missed?
No, other than what you just said, yeah, 100%. We need to do that. We've done collabs with other companies. We're doing another one with actually with another company that is based there in Utah. You're probably familiar with Hunting Full.
Yeah.
We've
Yep.
become
Uh-huh.
good friends with those guys, so we're doing some collabs with them, and 100% would make sense for us to do something together as well. So
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. I'll get with you off camera and we'll talk more about that. And then how do people find you? What's the ways?
we're on all the socials. We actually have two Instagrams. We have OS underscore from Field to Table, which is all things Field to Table. And then our other page is more towards our adventures, our long range schools, and then just some of the happenings within the company. And that is outdoors underscore solutions underscore official. And
Okay.
then we're on Facebook, and then we've got some amazing videos on YouTube. That's probably where we're the most active, because we do a lot of content.
Yeah, you
And so a
do.
lot of educational stuff on the shooting side, on the field to table side with the chefs, and then just some of the cool adventures that we get to go on that we video and put out there as well. So that's definitely the best way to find us. We got two brand new websites
Oh, cool.
that we just completely refurbished. Our guy, Gary, did an amazing job with them, and that is from fieldtotable.com and then outdoorsolutionscorp.com as well.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I can't recommend you guys enough. Anybody out there looking to, first time hunters, first time, shooters, do the long range shooting, do the field to table. You will not regret it. It's amazing. I know you do you did a daddy daughter one, right?
Yeah, that's been probably my all-time favorite event that we did. We did that last year, last December.
Yeah, I love that. We just found out we did a gender reveal in Africa, and we're finally got our little girl. So 3 boys.
I saw that. I meant to tell you, congratulations. Yeah, that's so cool. That girl's going to be spoiled rotten.
Oh, dude, it's going to be bad. I know that. So we're excited. So yeah, that's what I want people to realize is it's not just men, it's women, it's kids. I mean, you're educating anybody who wants to learn, is what I take. And so get out there. And I tell people, a lot of people say, I want to do that, I want to do this, but they don't, sign up. They don't get their wallet out. It's like you have to pay your dues to have access to these types of things. And this is a very good opportunity to go do something that's not a lot of money, compared to, you go on these elk hunts and stuff, they could be $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. They can come out to your event for a very good value, lodging, food, great food, and then all of the education and, hopefully harvesting an animal or learning how to shoot long range. So I need to get in on some more. I need to get some dates from you and check my schedule, but man, I just love what you're doing. Keep it up. If you ever need anything, you got my cell number. Call me anytime, and I'm here for you, man.
Dude, this has been fun. I appreciate you having me on.
Okay, and there you have it. My conversation with Greg Ray, founder and CEO of Outdoor Solutions. Obviously, you heard us talk about the long-range shooting schools, the field to table, and he's got some new stuff coming up on the horizon, and I can't wait to hear what that is. He's a guy who is a dreamer, a doer, which is even more important. A lot of us dream, but not a lot of us actually go and do and take the risks. And Greg has. I know his story. You guys got to hear a little bit of it. But man, what a deep respect I have for that man. So great conversation. I appreciate his time. I'm actually going to go on some more events with him. I'm excited to take my sons out and do some of these things with my boys as they're getting older. So hopefully we can collab down the road with M42 Adventures and Outdoor Solutions. So appreciate your time, Greg. Hope you enjoyed that one. Again, like, listen, follow, share our content. We only grow if you help us. That's one of the main ways. So please help us spread our message and help us get people outside and enjoying the outdoors. This is M42 Adventures signing off. Have a great weekend. Bye.